a guy that you love, Collin Sexton, is on the trade block.
Pride.
The Cavaliers have said that he is very available in trade talks.
They don't love him like I do.
This is not a secret. They don't want Collin Sexton anymore. This is what they are saying.
Yeah.
And so far, Shams reported that the Knicks are the most aggressive suitor
Say that a little bit happier.
for
dude.
Collin Sexton. And I don't know how to feel about this because I think Collin Sexton is good. I don't think he's as good as his stats say. I don't think he's a fit for the Knicks. The Knicks need a point guard general-like guy. Collin Sexton is not that. He's just going to take away shots from a guy in RJ who's already better than him. And it's just going to knock RJ's development. And that's why I don't really want Sexton on the team. I think we can sign a veteran point guard, keep RJ, Mitch, Randall, and run it back. We'd be fine.
Oh, my
But
God.
I also
you think RJ already, right now, is better than Sexton?
no doubt about it, 100%.
No doubt about it. Kills me.
Collin
every time.
Sexton, to me, I don't want to knock him. I think he's the most mysterious player in the NBA because he's either godlike to some fans and he's complete trash, the volume scorer who's a stat pattern to other teams. He's only 22 years old. He's averaging 24 points,
He's a
3
year older than
rebounds,
RJ.
4 assists, 2 years older. He's shooting 47% from the field and 37% from three. And I just don't get this fascination with Cleveland of wanting to trade Sexton. If they don't draft Jalen Green, there's no reason to get rid of Sexton. There's really not. You can have a good lineup out there of Garland, Sexton, Okoro, Mobley, Allen. That's not too bad. If you're not getting Jalen Green, there's no reason to just trade Collin Sexton. Maybe it's because they already know they're not going to re-sign him, so they're like, okay, let's just get whatever we can get from him right now because his trade value is not going to increase after this year because he's not coming back anyway. And I just want to say this. There have been a lot of players that have been victims of being empty stat patterns. Devin Booker was one of them. He's in the NBA Finals right now. Bradley Beal is going through that right now. Zach LaVine as well. So these guys have all been victims of putting up empty stats because they've been on losing teams. Maybe that's Collin Sexton. I'm not sure if that is. The Knicks being front runners for Sexton does scare me because I think we have to be patient. We have to be waiting for a star free agent, a real star, not Collin Sexton star, and just be patient. And I think trading for Collin right now is a short-sighted move unless the trade package is OB, Knox, and one, not both, one of our first-round picks. Because Knox is a bust. OB, he's just OB. You know, he's okay. And one of the first-round picks, you can part ways with it for Sexton.
Yep.
Because if that's a trade package, that shows me that the Knicks aren't committed to Sexton long-term. We're just going to see how it works this season, how he fits, and then we'll move on from there. And I still want to keep one of the picks because even when drafting Sexton, not even that, even with drafting Sexton, we need to draft Cam Thomas. Just in case Sexton leaves, now we have a professional scorer in Thomas who can fill that role automatically.
You know, I'm actually pretty shocked that you're not high on this Collin Sexton thing with your coach being Tom Thibodeau. You know, it actually boggles my mind. You know, the mindset Collin Sexton has and the work ethic, you know, the toughness, it really reminds me of a Tom Thibodeau thing. Like, he seems to me like a Tom Thibodeau guy. He works hard. He plays hard. He gives it his all on both ends of the floor. He's the first guy in the gym. He's the last guy out the gym. He's a young player. You know, he wants to get better. You've seen it. Like, so it's I think in New York, it can work. Now, am I saying he's a max guy? Hell no. I'm not saying that. He's not a 28, 25, $22 million guy.
22?
No. But I'm saying no.
I don't know about that.
Dude,
No,
we did it last show. I won't keep
I'm not.
being a
I
dead
wouldn't pay him
horse.
more than John Collins. That's just me though. I wouldn't do it.
You said you wouldn't give John Collins 20 either.
Exactly. I wouldn't give neither of them $20 million. But let me finish. Well, Collin Sexton, I think New York is a great spot for him to show his worth. Because as of right now, obviously, he's known as a ball hogger, a guy who just holds the ball. He's just a shot chucker, a volume shooter. I think New York is a great opportunity, and I don't even think he'll take shots away from RJ. I think he'll kind of open up the floor for RJ because I feel like with Tom Thibodeau being there, that is a coach where he respects. That is a coach where he'll learn to adapt, and that is a coach where he'll be able to play under. And he's not a bad shooter. You know, he's improved in his shooting since he walked in the NBA. I think he'll go back to his natural position in New York, and I think that's a good pickup because it's like he's on a, like you said, it's a rental. You guys are gonna. I feel like you guys are gonna make the playoffs again with Collin. That'll definitely solidify that, and you can definitely see how it goes with him and Randall being 20-point scorers. I think that'll open up R.J. Barrett's game a lot
100%.
more because Collin Sexton is also a guy who can score and he can shoot the ball. You just still need a point guard because I don't think Collin should play the 1. I think he's more of a 2, and you kind of need like a Lonzo Ball type of guy, a guy who can play make. But I think, New York with the Garden and the toughness of New York City, I think that's honestly the perfect spot for Collin Sexton and his mental to go thrive and show what type of player he really is.
I definitely agree with what you're saying, that they need more of a 1 than a 2. My thing is, I've been on the side that he really didn't have much to go off of on Cleveland to really pass the ball. It was him, Garland. Other than that, they really didn't have many scorers on that team. He was the primary ball scorer. Now, should the Knicks trade for him? That's an interesting question. I feel like for what you said, that package, Obi, Kevin Knox, I would even go as far to say the 2 first, they don't hurt me that bad because you're getting Collin Sexton, a guy.
What about Obi and the 2 first? Or Knox and the 2 first?
That sounds better.
Yeah, because Knox, he's gone. Like we can all agree he's
that's
done.
Obvious. That's obvious.
But Knox and the 2 pick, I think that's like, all right, like we could do that. We still keep Obi.
That is a very firm price, especially for the fact, like you mentioned, it would just open up the court for RJ a lot more. And there's not that much pressure on him as the 3rd option. He's going to get his because obviously the defense is focused on him. Defense is focused on Randall, who was just 2nd-team All-NBA. RJ, he would benefit from this a lot because, one, he's not going to have the pressure of having to be that primary ball handler. And you get a guy like Sexton who actually would get some weapons with RJ, with Julius Randle. I expect him to be more willing to pass the ball to those guys as opposed to a young Okoro or a Jared Allen who really is not that much of an offensive guy. Kevin Love, who is in and out of the lineup, who definitely, when he's in the lineup, is very solid, but you really couldn't bank on him too much last season. I just think that the Cavaliers themselves are undervaluing what he has done for the team. He's only improved since coming into the league for them. He went from 16 points a game to 24.3 in just 2 seasons. I understand the assist thing, but he's the Energizer Bunny. Dude has a full tank of gas every single game. There's not many players like that right now in our league that are going from start to finish. And I feel like for that price, the Knicks would have to do a trade like that.
Collin Sexton and Kevin Love don't get along. It's really well documented that they have beef. Kevin Love specifically with Collin Sexton, he just doesn't like Collin Sexton for some reason.
Doesn't like his game.
Do you know why?
I don't know why.
I think he just doesn't like his game.
Kevin Love doesn't like his game. That's
Kevin Love.
interesting.
There was a report that came out with the Cavs. I think last year that teammates on the Cavaliers are frustrated with Collin Sexton not passing the ball and dominating the ball, and it was obviously Kevin Love who leaked that, and it was Kevin Love's opinion, not the team's opinion. So Kevin Love and Sexton already have beef.
Do you agree with what I'm saying though? That
I'll say this: I do agree with what you're saying, and you made an excellent point. It convinced me somewhat because we've seen that when players go to new situations and start to thrive, the narrative around them changes. I think Collin Sexton to this point has been a victim of a lot of false narratives. For example, Julius Randle before coming to New York wasn't viewed as as an all-star guy.
Right.
His first season in New York was a flop. Thibodeau comes in, changes the culture. Randle is now an all-star. Randle is now a guy who you can get legitimate pieces for in a trade. If the Knicks traded him last year, you'd be lucky if you get Buddy Hield for him. But this year, Randle has played at an all-NBA level. Who's to say that Collin Sexton could come to New York, play great, change the narrative around his name? He shows that he's a great defender. He shows that he's a great scorer. He performs in these high-leverage moments because the Knicks will be on more nationally televised games next year because we're going to be good. And Collin Sexton starts to change the narrative around his name, and now the Knicks have a player in Sexton who trade value is through the roof. Teams now are saying, this guy is good. I can't believe we thought he was worth, he was only worth Kevin Knox, Obi Toppin, and picks because he's worth way more than this.
I agree.
Collin Sexton, if he plays well with the Knicks, he can change the entire narrative around his name, which then enhances his trade value down the road. So even if the Knicks do pay Sexton, they do pay Randall. If Sexton shows out in New York, especially in the playoffs, we can get something back from him and maybe still get a max free agent in free agency. So I don't think this would be totally bad. You sold me on the idea a little bit.
Well, wait. But if he plays great in the playoffs, you wouldn't want to keep him?
I do. I would want to re-sign him, but I know because he's played great, now he has that trade value. Right. If a star does become available via trade, look, we got Sexton. We could trade for your guy.